Welcome back to Wisconsin Family. We are outside enjoying the lovely weather here at Capitol Brewery in Middleton.
Perfect day to be filming outside, I'll tell you.
No kidding. Yeah. It's a great day to have this job, right? For all of us. So we're going to chat with those folks a little bit later. We are joined now by John Scherer of Trinity Financial Planning, and we're so pleased to have you back. Thanks for joining us.
Great, good to be here.
Gosh, John, we've learned so much from you over time, and you've given us some great financial advice and some great sort of rules to go forward in our financial personal lives. Let's talk about something that is near and dear to my heart right now. We're talking about what to do when you sort of lead into having a baby, when you're expecting. So we're going to put some of these key topics together. Give us some advice when you're with child.
Great. They got all these individual things like, okay, what's a real life situation that you can put it into?
Absolutely.
So the first thing when you were preparing for a baby is to really play defense and look at protect the downside with things. And one of the first things we talk about with people is to get your wills updated. If you don't have one, get one in the first place. And then make sure that the guardians are named that you want. If something happens, that you got those things taken care of. That can be a really hard thing to talk about, but if it's hard for us to talk about while we're here, if something happens, to have your family members or somebody else try to decide what happens to your kids.
Sure.
So getting the wills taken care of is really one of the top priorities as you're getting prepared for having a baby.
Yeah, it's interesting because it is one of those things you sort of don't want to have to think about, but when you have kids, it does become important because it's not just you anymore.
Right, you're responsible for the other little person, right?
Absolutely.
And it is a hard thing to talk about because when you're with child, I mean, you're at the early stages of your life, and you're kind of at the prime, and you don't want to think about the inevitable.
Absolutely.
So we get our wills taken care of. What's the next step, John?
Well, we're still playing defense. We talk about getting enough life insurance, and again, it's sort of those negative things, but it's one of those that, hey, it happens, and that's why we have it. You hope that you're at the beginning, and it never has to be an issue. But we've talked about it before on the show. Make sure you have enough coverage, and one of the things talking about the wills is making sure that your beneficiaries are named correctly. We always tell people, check with your attorney on that, because we see a lot of folks that come in and their life insurance, they name their spouse as their primary beneficiary, and then their kids are their next if they're both in an accident or something.
Okay.
And typically you don't want your 3-year-old, 2-year-old kids to be the person that receives all this money.
Yeah.
So it's always it's different attorneys do it different ways, but make sure you check and get those beneficiary designations done right. Again, it's sort of uncomfortable, it's not fun to deal with, but once you're doing it, get it done properly.
Right.
Interesting that you say it that way, because that would be my instinct, would be spouse first and then kids second, no matter the age. But I suppose they're not probably really good with money yet.
Right. And then there are ways that the courts and the law takes care of it, but you don't necessarily want that to go through whatever the state law is on it. You want it to be how you want it to be.
Right, and could become a headache for those involved,
Absolutely.
I imagine, too. Okay, so once those sort of defensive things are set, then what?
Right. Then we start talking about setting aside a little bit extra money as you prepare for things, because it's just expensive, right? And there's things that come up that you're not prepared for as you're going through. And so whether it's $50, $100 a paycheck, if you can have a little pot of money, a few hundred, a few $1,000s when that comes, because there's always this or that, and it just happens, those unexpected things. We talk with folks about, just in general, have 10% of your income set aside in an emergency fund or in liquidity. As you're preparing for a baby, a little bit extra in there really makes a big difference when that time comes. You don't have to worry about things.
Yeah, it sure is expensive. Boy,
And stashing away money, as you mentioned, that's an important part of, after you've taken care of the defensive ends of things. So
that's right.
That's an important part. So, are there any tips that you can give people for saving money? You mentioned 10%, making sure that you have 10% liquidity somewhere. Are there any other things that you can suggest in that realm?
I'll tell you, one of the things is just having a little extra pot of cash and just being sort of prepared for that. The other thing we talk about with folks is it's so exciting when you're bringing a new baby and all the things, and if it's especially if it's your first, all the things that are out there and the gadgets and the toys and the clothes and all the cute stuff.
Yeah.
But we talk with people a lot about look at what the return on investment is, and from the idea of the kids go through, whether it's toys or clothes or things, so quickly. There's a lot of great places. We talk about saving out of your paychecks, like how much do you save, but then saving how much you're spending on things.
Right.
And looking at buying secondhand things, whether it's the clothes that are gently used. There's a number of large rummage sales around the Dane County area that are just focused on kids' clothing. There's Craigslist and things where you can find a lot of stuff at cents on the dollar, and it's still high quality, good toys and good clothing and those sort of things. And so it's fun to buy some of those new things and to get that, but then sort of temper it, like, geez, they're going to wear these things. You guys always have kids, they wear the same
Right.
thing every day. If you let them sometimes,
Right.
and,
Yeah.
and so to just manage how much you're spending, because it is so exciting to do, but it can be easy to overspend.
Yeah.
And the kids really don't need that much of some of those extra things. So,
Absolutely, agreed. Let's talk a little bit quick before we go about college savings. What's the best way to get started?
well, that's one of the things that people think about when they think of, okay, my financial stuff when I'm having a baby. And really, that's the least important of the things. And we've talked again on the show before about saving for retirement and other places. There was a study that just came out that said that the average, one of the things we talk about with folks is daycare. And the average cost of a 4-year-old in daycare here in Wisconsin is about $9,400. You compare that to the cost of the average tuition at an in-state school is about $8,400.
Yeah.
So the daycare thing, that's where if you start saving a little bit now, that once daycare comes in, you've gotten those habits.
Right.
And it comes out to be somewhere around 14% of the average income in Wisconsin gets spent on daycare. So focus on some of those sort of things, and the college things can take care of themselves down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice, as always, John Scherer. Thank you so much for joining us.
Great, thanks for having me.
John has a fantastic website also, so make sure you check out Trinity Financial Planning on the web. We're going to be back with more Wisconsin Family after this.